Wisdom. It's an incredibly valuable asset. Some would say more precious than gold. It's attractive, appealing, admirable. Conversely, a lack of wisdom is the basis of immaturity, blind spots, and bad decisions. Wisdom. It can be gained over time, but it can't be rushed. But wisdom can be shared. That's precisely what we are here to do right now. Today, we are here to hack wisdom, to distill it, to understand it, and to process it. Why? To get better at life. Welcome to The Main Thing. This is your new 9-minute podcast. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg, and I've set out to interview the wisest people I know. We'll see what we can learn from each one when they're faced with an incredibly difficult, soul-piercing question. Welcome back to The Main Thing podcast. I'm your host, Skip Linneberg. Yes, that fellow who brings you 9-minute doses of wisdom. Coming to you today from Parkwood Studios with a special warm welcome to my subscribers. Thank you. I also want to give a special shout out of gratitude to my patrons, those who support this show in a monetary way. After you listen to this terrific new episode, I want to appeal to your sense of generosity and ask you to share this podcast with someone you care about. Share this wisdom with them as an investment in their growth and their future. Dr. Trish Ring is a psychologist who has reinvented her career many times as a therapist, a speaker, a radio show host, a personal coach, a lifestyle guru, and yes, even a horse whisperer. She has now turned her attention to writing a memoir. By the book, a Bible Belt memoir of growing up good and Southern. In her book, she weaves together tales of a childhood in the American South, as well as good Southern yarns about family skeletons, how to believe in yourself no matter what, and how to live with courage and lots of love. That sounds about exactly like what we talk about here on this show. She comes to us today from her home in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, saddle up and get ready to discover why Trish Ring is one of the wisest people I know. Trish Ring, welcome to The Main Thing podcast. So great to have you on today.
Thank you, Skip. Happy to be here.
Trish, listeners will have heard me characterize you in a number of ways, but curiously, as a horse whisperer, can you tell us a little bit about that? Did you grow up in a family where horses were part of your life growing up?
No, I did not, although I'm a fifth-generation Texan. So there were horses in the pasture at my grandparents' farms, my great-grandparents' farms, but I did not grow up an equestrian, no.
Okay.
My work as a horsewoman is very much connected to my experience in Africa, is very much connected to my 3 decades of work as a psychologist, is very much connected to my writing. All of it flows because it comes from a desire to know myself better.
Sure.
And throw a little bit of light on the path for anyone who's following along on a similar journey.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's interesting, important. Thank you so much. Let's tell our listeners, Trish, how you and I got connected and have begun to know each other. Would you like to start that story, and I'll chime in with some color commentary?
Of course. Well, we have a mutual friend named Betsy Wills who has done us the favor of introducing us. But Betsy, interestingly enough, I met Betsy at a horsemanship workshop at Blue Star Ranch. That's how I met her.
Okay. So she came to your place as a customer, so to speak, and you all met there in North Carolina.
She came to a team building retreat, which is what we offer to certain nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
And this has been several years now. And we just really hit it off. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with her after the work in the arena. And I think we stayed up late in front of the fire, just sharing stories.
Oh, that's the best. That's the best. So you guys you're deeply connected. Betsy is fabulous. I love all my guests, but I'll tell you, Betsy, her show is episode 54, and it to this day remains the most listened to episode of all time. Trish Ring, what's the main thing you've learned in your lifetime so far?
Well, Skip, the main thing that I've learned so far is that the vast majority of people dramatically overestimate their need for approval or their need to fit in. And
Oh, yeah.
they drastically underestimate what that costs them.
Wow. Can we unpack that and dive more into your wisdom, Trish? That's something that is near and dear to me.
I think it's near and dear to most people, Skip, even if they don't realize it.
Okay.
So people who are driven and work too hard, people who, on the opposite end of the spectrum, avoid challenge and stay in the middle road, people who have boundary issues and can't stay in their own lane, or tolerate too many people in their lane with them, all of those issues and many more, you can kind of drill down to most people's fear that if they pursue their own heartfelt, moral sense of what they need to do next, then they will somehow not fit in. They will somehow not have the approval that they think they must have in order to stay in their career, to stay, to appeal to clients, to sell that next product, to be, to be close to family. I mean, it's how we're made.
Right.
I think that sooner or later in everyone's life, as we move from childhood to adolescence to adulthood, we have to make a decision to disbelieve, to reject the lie that there's something wrong with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I truly believe, I fully believe that, Trish.
So the extent to which you can reject that lie, the more likely it is that you'll go off path a little bit, that you'll make your own way, that you'll tolerate a little bit of disapproval here, or you'll tolerate the risk that you don't fit in here, but maybe there's someplace else where you fit in better. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the word that was floating right there during that part of your conversation was risk. We might be more willing to take a risk and say, I don't care what people think. I feel called and compelled to do this. I'm going to give it a go. I don't care what other people might say or what, if some people stop hanging out with me and stop tagging me on social media, whatever silliness that fear might concoct in our brains. What might folks be struggling with that would say, I need to pay attention to Trish's main thing and I need to spend some time there and I need to do some work there? What does life look like and what do those symptoms look like?
People who have not come to terms with how dependent they are on other people's approval or rules, those people actually look like extremely conscientious and sometimes high-achieving people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, think about it. These are people who are working very hard to do well. Overachievers are on a never-ending loop of drivenness. Now, the downside to that is, in general, people who are on this hamster wheel have a sense of, I can never do enough. How does this end?
Right.
If something goes wrong, is it my fault? Do I need to be working harder?
Right.
How in the world am I supposed to fix this? Now, in my own experience, as a therapist,
Okay.
the scenario that comes into my office most often, because I have a
Okay.
practice that was predominantly focused on women's issues. So I'm not saying this is not exclusive
Okay.
to women, but the story that high achieving women give me is it's impossible to do everything that's expected of me, and I don't know how much longer I can keep up the pretense that I've got it all under control. So that's not
Yeah.
unusual. And well, first of all, as we all know, but we forget, we don't have it all under control anyway. It's yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Let's
right.
cut the lie there. Let's be
Control
honest. Yeah.
is absolutely an
Right.
illusion. Control is an illusion, but we'll die trying to maintain that illusion if we're not careful.
Got it. Yeah. Wow. Well, Trish, you can sense my interest in this topic. I think you can tell I would love to talk for another hour about it, but we just need to wrap up this show because it's a short format podcast. I do want to ask you, though, before I let you go, Trish, would you tell us a little bit about your new book that's coming out? The title is By the Book, a Bible Belt memoir of growing up good and Southern. I love that title. Can you give us just a smidgen of it, what it's about, and
Sure,
what prompted
gladly.
you to write it?
No matter what happens out there in the bigger world, it remains a challenge to learn how to belong and also how to be true to yourself. So this collection of stories is full of
Yeah.
some outrageous stories, some very funny stories, some quite heartfelt. It's the story of my butting heads with my extremely religious dad, and then coming together toward the end of his life. It's the story of branching out on my own in my career and being quite successful. It's the story of romance found and lost and found again.
Yeah, you've certainly whet our appetite with that smidgen sample from your book. There's a lot of people that are going to be extremely anxious and eager to read that. I can't wait to read it myself. So, Trish, I just want to thank you so much for just being so authentic today, for being so candid in the wisdom that you shared. This is not some surface thing. I mean, your wisdom cuts deep here, and it's important. And I just really appreciate the authentic and vulnerable way that you brought this to our audience and our wisdom conversation today, Trish.
Oh, you're welcome, and I'm really delighted to have some time to visit with you, Skip. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Wow, 9 minutes is up. That goes by incredibly fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're hacking wisdom. I hope you're left wanting more. Sync up with us again next time on The Main Thing for 9 more minutes of wisdom.